Welcome to Microsoft Dynamics GP training. This is Amber Bell from Training Dynamo. Today we're going to be talking about updating 1099 vendor setup and amounts. When I open up GP, I'm going to click Purchasing in the bottom left corner to open the purchasing windows. In the side, you'll see the option to click on Cards, and now I can click on Vendor. This is if I'm going to be updating the vendor manually, but for now we're just going to take a look and then we're going to go through one of the options for making a change. So the first thing I'm going to do is pull up my vendor, and it's this one on the top that I want to use, and I'm going to take a look at the options. And you'll see they don't have a tax ID, they're not set up as a 1099 vendor. I'm going to go ahead and put in a tax ID, and I'm going to click OK. On purpose, I'm not changing the tax type because I want to show you one of the options for making an update. I've said this before in tips and tricks videos that I do. I say this in training that I do, in the books that I do. Anytime I do anything that falls under utilities, you want to be very careful because sometimes these utilities can do updates to lots and lots of different records. So we're going to recommend and pretend that I did an update or a backup, that's what I mean, before I did this. But I want to show you what this option is. So what I want to do is I want to update the vendor and the 1099 transactions, and I'm changing them from not a 1099 vendor into, now I'm running GP 18.3, and if you're running that version or newer, you'll have non-employee compensation. I might want to say their dividend for whatever reason, and we'll put them in as capital gains distribution, just as an example. Now, I'm on purpose forgetting 1/2 of this because I want you to see what will happen if I hit print. I did not hit process, and I didn't hit process for a reason. If I hit process, I would actually have done a bunch of updates. So if I do print, you'll see that I was trying to just update one vendor, but I've got pages and pages. What this would have done is any vendor that was not set up as a 1099 would magically turn into a new 1099 vendor with that dividend capital gain distribution to a box, which would be terrible and scary that I would have just updated all my vendors. So what I need to do is make sure that I put a filter. So in this case, I'm going to put CAP. I'll do a lookup by hitting Control L. I'll pick my vendor, and I'll hit Insert. I'm going to hit my print again because I'm nervous that I almost just updated 1,000, different vendors. Okay, it's just going to be one, and I'm going to go ahead and click Process. Now again, this is a utility, so I would have wanted to have a backup if I could. Or not if I could. Do a backup because I could have just forgot to do that insert and done a horrible update. So definitely if you are going to use a utility, do a backup. So that one just updated. And now if I go and I do an inquiry under inquiry, and we're going to put vendor yearly, and we'll put in our good old capital. And you'll see here that now the 1099 amount is now that new amount. So that would be what prints on my 1099, which is great. Now, let's say that you saw that utility and you looked and you don't have security to it, or you don't have a version that includes that, or you're just super nervous to make that huge of a mistake. I can come back into this yearly, and we're going to take a look at this vendor. So I'm going to go like this and do a lookup, and this is the vendor that I want to change. Now, right now, here's this vendor, and we can see that there's no dollars in the 1099 amount. I'm going to go into the vendor ID and go to vendor maintenance, and I can come into here and I can go to my options, and I'm going to switch them to I'm in the version 18.3, so I have non-employee compensation, which is our most common 1099, and we're going to click Save. Now, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to close this window out. And this is the old way to do it, but to me this is if you just know the amount, I should actually kept that other window open. We'll do that again. And we're going to put up that vendor. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to go back to that inquiry by year. And pull that vendor back up. Oops. And you can see here now that I've got that amount that I want to use. So we're going to come in here and put the amount in. So we're going to go here. Oops. And I'm going to put this into... Now, if you're trying to type this in, this is a common issue. People will switch to year and they try to type and they think it's broken. It will only let you type when you do it by month. So if I'm doing it at year end and I don't want to go month by month, I just say December and I come in here and I'm going to put in the amount. So I'm going to come in here and put the amount and we're going to say 19,891.68. Forgive typos if I did any. And I'm going to hit save. And it's that easy if I'm going to do one at a time. Now, could I have created a pivot table, or not pivot table, yeah, I could have created a pivot table of data from SmartList and done an import, yes. I want to do it based on the actual detailed records, not on the year-to-date records in SmartList, so be careful with that. But this was the easiest way I could just real quick take a look and type that in. So the way I got to that was the vendor yearly inquiry was under inquiry vendor yearly, and that window I was just in was under cards, 1099 details. Put in the vendor, make sure it's set to month, and type in the amount. Now the last way that you can update that I have is you can go under transactions, purchasing transactions, edit 1099 transaction information. You have to set the vendor as a 1099 vendor first, then you can put in the vendor, and then you can say all debit or all credit transactions and redisplay. And then you can update these. And you could even make them different if they get paid different things. If most everything is, you know, if there's some random wacky things happening, you can even edit the amounts if it's partial. It's very editable by transaction. It's very visible by transaction as well. When you're done, you'd hit process and that would update the tables used for the 1099s. I hope this helped you as you get ready to process your 1099s. If you have any questions, let me know. For more Microsoft Dynamics GP tips, visit trainingdynamo.com, buy my books, use the code YouTube to save 30%, and like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much and have a great day.